I said, you're right. I did say that.
Oh, I know.
But it's just that
All
what
right.
I'm saying is I told her we was gonna go to the Tampa game. Oh well,
All
we'll
right. So
talk.
good afternoon, beautiful people. This is your host, Matthew, Day and Night Podcast, episode number 97. All right. So we're coming to y'all live once again. Hopefully everyone is enjoying their weekend. Uh, I'm excited. Football is back. Our Eagles barely survived yet again. Hurt still look exactly like he did last year, which is scary because it's like, is he going to continue to be the turnover machine, inconsistent up and down? So we'll see. That's what we was talking about when we first came on. Me and Mark supposed to be going to the Tampa game if he don't back out on me. It's been a year or two since we've been going to games together, so I want to try to get that back in effect. But with no further ado, we got another good topic for y'all today. So I'm gonna kick it over to Mark, co-host in San Antonio.
Well, I just want to say hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, Sunday fun day. As well, I'm excited. Football's back. Sunday is my day to chill, relax, and just watch football all day. So that's what I'm going to be doing. But anyway, I'm looking forward to today's show. I just cut it short because I know this ain't about sports today, so I'm not going to try to go all into. But this one is going to be a little different for me. I'm going to kind of learn off of you on this one because of the term. So I want to make sure that I'm on the same page. So this is going to be a good one. As always, guys, engage in conversation, like, subscribe, leave a comment. You know who you are. You've been leaving comments, so don't stop now. Keep it going, keep it moving. STS. So on that note, I'm keep it short and just get ready to do this.
All right, all right. All right, so you say that all the time. You be on point all the time. So you're gonna fall right in suit. Where the hell did I go?
I don't know.
Okay,
Nice
there I
logo.
go.
There you go.
That was a disappearing act. Just check and make sure y'all out there and alive. All right, so today's topic is something that everybody deals with. We all have it, and it might ruffle a couple of people's feathers because where I'm going to go with this, I know some people are going to have some pushback on it, and they're going to say, "Nope, that's not me." So as always, I do a little bit of reading. I ain't gonna say research. I do a little bit of reading just to bring some context to it, again to bring some objectivity to it, not subjectivity. So it's not all just our opinion. All right, so I'm just going to read the definition of what egocentric is, and then we're going to get into it. So basically, being egocentric means having a tendency to focus on oneself and one own's needs, desires, and perspectives to the exclusion of others. An egocentric person often finds it difficult to see things from another person's point of view and may assume that others share their thoughts, beliefs, or interests. Some may know this as narcissism because that's the favorite new word now is a narcissist. So it's basically someone who's just very, very egocentric.
Right.
All right. So key traits of an egocentrism are self-centeredness, prioritizing one's own interests, opinions, and needs above those of others, limited empathy, difficulty in understanding, overstanding, or appreciating other people's feelings or viewpoints, narrow perspective, assuming that one's ways of thinking or perceiving the world is universal or the most important. So basically, egocentrism is common in young children as they are developing who they are, and they're focused more on their own experiences. And adults, we look at it as selfishness or lacking in social awareness. All right. So with that being said, so when I put this up on Instagram, a friend of mine, she responded and she's like, yes, I think at times some of us experience ego, we're egocentric. And this is where some people may get a little bit of like pushback. I honestly believe that we all experience it on a daily basis. I don't think that we actually have a separate, I don't think we don't have a lot of egocentrism in us. I believe on a daily basis, we operate in that. Maybe not at a high level, but we definitely operate in it. And the reason why I say that is because one of the definitions, it says that egocentrism is a person that often finds it difficult to see things from another person's point of view. Everybody have their own opinion. Everybody has their own perspective. And that's one of the definitions of being egocentric, is not seeing something from somebody else's perspective. So in that sense, when you're talking to most people, what do they say? Well, I believe this is my perspective. This is how I see it. And I don't think they're consciously doing it by saying that what the other person sees is not right. But it's like they're countering that by saying, well, this is what I believe. So you believe what you want to believe, but what I believe is 100% true. Now, this is where it gets kind of tricky because a lot of the podcasts we had recently, I think it was last week, we were talking about, having your own perspective and, what you create in your mind, you create your own universe and so forth. So, which is everybody allowed to have their own perspective. But the only problem is when you trump your perspectives over other people and say that, well, what I believe is more important, what I believe is truth, and what you believe is wrong. And I'm going to be the first one to admit it. I was very, very egocentric. And I still am to an extent. After doing a little bit of reading, I was like, wow, I still have a lot of these traits. And I'm going to go to the other side of it. A lot of it is dealing with who we are as far as we're spiritual beings, energy beings, depending on how you look at it. And the ego is the flesh. We are born with the ego, or we're born with the flesh. And like I always say, we got to ascend to our higher self. So ascending to your higher self is being more spiritual and doing more spiritual things. So that's when you have to step out of ego, which is, yourself, and believing that everything that you do is right, your perspective is right. And that's where the challenge becomes. So when a person say that they're not egocentric, I kind of look at them side eye, so that's not true. Just based off the definition, it may not be to a point to where it's overwhelming or it's unbalanced, but we definitely operate in that on a daily basis. So Mark, I'm just curious what your perspective is based off of the definition and what I was saying, that we all are egocentric.
Well, I believe, no, let me stop. So, I'm gonna try to keep this short because I'm gonna probably go into a little soliloquy on this one. But I it's funny now that you read the definition, I kind of agree with what you said. Well, we all are ego, what is it, egotistic?
Egocentric.
Because egocentric, I mean, egocentric, excuse me, is because we all have that, but we have to be at certain times. So what I'm trying to say, I believe we all are. I think some are more than others. I think some of us may not realize it based on maybe the way they grew up, what they've been around, what they used to. Then some know and use it and actually use it to their advantage. And then there are some, and I know personally that isn't egocentric at all. I feel like they very giving and understanding with people, and sometimes I feel like, and I told them that it don't hurt to be selfish sometimes and think about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Not faulting you for being a giver, or caring person, an empathy person, and always put other people first. I feel like at some point we all have to have that trait to be able to get what we want and whatever we try to accomplish. Because if you don't do that and you always just a giver and you never give to yourself, I feel like you're holding yourself back, or not as much as you giving the full potential at yourself, because you're not operating in that egotistic. So I feel like it should be at times, again, got to be when you're doing something, you're trying to accomplish something. Now, I don't mean to the point where you just rule off everybody and you just don't want to hear what nobody else got to say and it's all about me. It's just my way or the highway. I just mean sometimes you need to act in that energy as far as trying to get what you want. Now it may sound like I'm saying use that to your advantage to disrespect other people and not care about their point of view. I'm not saying that. All I'm simply saying is you just put yourself first, if that makes any sense. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, that's only if you're trying to accomplish something. Because in a sense, that could come across as you just stepping over people and you just, like I said, don't care about nobody else's thoughts. It's only your way. So that could come across as somebody definitely what the definition say, like you said. So I just feel like at that point in time when we need to get something, yeah, is it wrong? I mean, technically it is because you're using other people to get what you want, but I mean, some people, like I said, that they do everything and anything and never do anything for themselves, and I feel like they putting themselves second, which that's what you do, that's what you do. But I just feel like sometimes that's not a bad thing. But I look at myself, and I've been told, I never been told that particular word. I was told I was selfish, like you said, I don't call it a new word. I just feel like people learned it, and so a lot of people use it more about the narcissism. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like again, you have to be like that in certain points to get at certain points in your life. Now, I don't mean be that and operate that in a way where you just being mean to people and it's just your way is the only way and nobody else's way makes sense, or you don't want to listen to it. So what I'm trying to say in a nutshell is I kind of feel like we need that at times. Again, I keep repeating that at times, not 24/7. I do believe everybody is that every day. It's just some of us do it intentionally, and some of us do it without even realizing it. And then when somebody tells them, they refuse to accept it or believe it because they're in denial because they don't see themselves in that light. So that's where I kind of stand as far as with that word and how people are, including myself.
Okay. All right. So, um, Christina said, "Hola, hola, Christina." She said she
Oh,
don't know if she can comment. She like it's early show. Yep, it's early show. It's football season. But the only reason why we're doing it today, Kiara, my daughter, had her pageant yesterday, and it was at 5 in the evening time we normally do it. So that's why we're doing it today at 12, which leads me into my next point. And just to kind of push back on a little bit what you said, I know you said that some people, and you said that you know somebody that's not egotistical or not very egocentric. That's good. Now, to get to the point as far as, and if Kiara, if she's watching, beautiful. This is nothing to attack you. This is nothing against you. It's just an observation. Um, and I'm just going to use myself for example. I used to compete, and I remember when I was competing, you know, at the time I was in a church and stuff like that. And my ex-wife was like, she didn't not like it. She just didn't really support it. And she was like, it's a selfish sport and it's all about you. And you're kind of, I don't know if she said you're egocentric, but she basically was saying it's a selfish sport. And now looking back at it and going to a lot of Kiara's competitions, um, it is very, very egocentric. And this is kind of what you were saying. Like in some instances, we have to have that in order to compete. Like especially in like bodybuilding, pageantry, anything that's dealing with you that's an individual sport. You kind of have to have that egocentricism because if not, then you may not be as successful because it's all about you. You have to put so much work into yourself looking good. And basically, when you're on that stage, you have to exude that confidence, not so much arrogance, but confidence. But, and then I was just sitting back thinking, I was like, what possesses a person to want to do these type of competitions? And I'm going to speak on myself. And I believe I said this before. I know one of the reasons why I wanted to do it. I love bodybuilding. I love the whole, the body within itself, the work putting into it. But a lot of it was low self-esteem and just wanting that approval. So getting on stage and hearing people scream, like I intentionally didn't invite anybody, because you go to these events and stuff, and you bring people and they screaming for you, but it's a
Mhm.
different feel when you go and it's nobody that you know and they recognize and accept, how you look and applaud it. So that was like an ego boost for me. And that was one of the reasons why I did it. And Mark, when you put in the time to prepare for it, you have to shut everybody out. And
Mhm.
that's basically what one of the traits of egocentrism is everything is about you. And I was just like I said, I was asking myself, what would possess a person to want to do that? Because one of the things that the host was saying to all the women, even though if you don't win, y'all are all beautiful. So, in a sense, do you think that some of those people have a little bit of low self esteem? To me, it's only one or the other. Either you have low self esteem or you have so much egotism that you want and you love the attention because it's all about you. It's not about anybody else, not a team. It's you. You on stage and, you get the little accolades, best hair, best interviews, so forth. So it's really people praising and worshiping you in that moment. And I can see to an extent how that can push a person to maintain that egocentrism. But I know with the I don't know about bodybuilding, but I know with the pageantry, they actually do supposed to go out into the community and do things to help the community and stuff. So they are giving back, but a lot of that is in preparation is it's all about themselves. And I'm just going to say this one last point, and I'm going to get your perspective on it. Is and I know you see this too. It's more women than I see than men are
Mhm.
on social media and they're taking pictures, they doing all the glamour shots and stuff, and they in all the different outfits.
Right.
That's to me a form of egocentrism because it's all about you. Not necessarily to the point to where you're basically saying your priorities is better than anybody else's. I think it's more so the self-centeredness where you're prioritizing your own interests and needs above those of others, if that makes sense. So I'm
Right.
just curious as far as what your perspective is on it.
Yeah, well, to go back to the with the pageantry and the bodybuilding, I did physique, which you inspired me to do that. So I kind of on the same path as you. It was more of a self-esteem to reassure me that I had a good physique. But then what I would say, and this is what I'm speaking on why I would think. So I guess this is me being egocentric right here, is my belief of what I think why people do bodybuilding and pageantry is because for me, from personal, for our field and bodybuilding and physique, when I tell my clients and even guys or women I see in the gym, is I say you should do it because uh this is hard work that you put in, and why not reward yourself and showcase the hard work on stage and show that this is what your end result look like when you put in that dedication. And one guy was like, well, I'm not doing that because I don't need to be approved by anybody else. And that's what he kind of said, similar to what you were saying, how individuals do that to get that reboost or boost the confidence and ego. But he was saying that, but if you already know how you look, you know you're doing good. That's all that should matter. And I don't need 12 people on the panel to be able to judge me on saying if I'm good or I have the best physique out of all the other competitors. So I got what he was saying, but at the same time, I still believe that there's nothing wrong with that to get on that stage if that's your mindset. Now, like you said, some people do it for their uh, own self to feel good about themselves and boost their ego, and some do it, like I said, to reward themselves, saying, "Hey, this is hard work. Let me showcase my physique." And let everybody, look at it and appreciate it. So I think it's two sides for me. Now, I'm a firm believer that at the end of the day, it probably is more egocentric because you are doing it individually. So that's what I wanted to speak on that as far as that. Just like any other sport, mainly those two would probably be the most because it's individually and you just on the stage, but boxing and something like that might be the same to a certain extent, but it's not because you're fighting towards something. So I think that would be somewhat the same, But I feel like you got to be egocentric to think you're the best boxer you're better than the guy you're about to fight, your opponent, or the best in the world. So I feel like you had that egocentric mentality because think about boxers in the past and the way they spoke. Tyson, Mayweather,
Hmm.
someone was humble. Holyfield, I think he was more of a humble boxer, but he still had that arrogance a little bit, and he knew he had to be the best. Because I feel like you have to have that to be able, again, to get where you're trying to get. If you don't, if you feel too humble, sometimes you might finish last because you're not giving yourself the confidence you need. So that's how I feel again on being egocentric at times you need it. The other thing I was going to touch on is when you are egocentric, I'm keep trying to say that damn word. To me, if you're in a regular day life working, that's where to me it becomes a problem. Where you're a type of person, like it's a guy that I work with where it's all about him. He leaves and goes to the
Hmm.
bathroom when he wants. He just walks off and do whatever the hell he wants and then think he's the only one there. Dare somebody else do it, then he gets the attitude and he always want to speak on what everybody else is doing. He always say, "This is the way
Hmm.
this place needs to be ran," and I don't feel like this place is ran right. And he's always talking about how he views it. So to me, he's a prime example of an egocentric person that's in a regular everyday working life
Hmm.
because he does what he wants when he wants. And dare somebody else do it, he always got an issue about it, and he always speaks on it. So I think that's to me in everyday life certain situations like that, workplaces is probably one of the most. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys can think about that and know someone that's kind of like that in relationships is another one. I've dated in the past where I myself it was about me, and it was also sometimes about her. When you gonna cook for me, or when you gonna wash my car? And I believe a man should do this in a relationship. So it's
Hmm.
like you said, it's every day. I feel like we all have it. Some of us probably don't recognize it because we never even thought about it. But if you sit down and think about it, yeah, we all possess it. Like I said, some do it more than others. Some do it intentionally. Some do it not even being aware of it.
You know what? That's good lead in because we bring us back on track. So I just want to first say, Christina, thank you for one, but the pageantry was yesterday. She actually came second runner up. So
Oh, wow.
thank you for your good wishes. But yeah, to get back to your lead in, because I just wanted to like steer it back. Now, when you said that the dude at your job, how he was like selfish, that's like one of the perfect examples of what egocentrism is. And what I was talking about the pageantry stuff, it's really not egocentric because it's not really affecting anybody else and not someone forcing their opinions and views saying it's better. So that probably wasn't a good example. Um, but it's still basically what I was saying with that is this feed the person's ego, which kind of
Right.
keep them in that ego because like I always say, our I believe our whole purpose here is to ascend to our higher selves, and that's one of the battles is letting go of ego and becoming more of your spiritual side. We still need balance, but in order to get to that higher self, you have to let go of some of that ego. And a lot of those things, like the competitions and stuff, that feeds your ego. So that keeps you in your ego and it keeps you in the flesh and it makes you less spiritual. So it's a little bit more challenging to reach your higher self if you're constantly always feeding your ego. Um, but that was a perfect lead in, you know. And so one of the things I think about as far as someone is very egocentric, I think a lot of politicians or politics is very egocentric because it's like one party is basically saying that their views and perspective on how Americans should live is better than the other party. So I believe, like, especially when it comes to politics and politicians, they're very egocentric because they're basically saying, okay, how you see how this country should be ran and how you believe we should be, treated
Right.
is wrong, and how I believe or how we believe as this party, it trumps yours, and what you're saying makes no sense. So the debate is Tuesday. So I'm gonna try to check it out, and just based off of what we're talking about today, I would like everyone to look at it from that perspective as far as is politics in itself egocentric, and are the politicians very egocentric? I know that might be a crazy comparison because it's all about policy and our way of life, but it's still, in my belief, should have some form of fairness to it, sympathy and empathy. It is not all so much what I believe is better, and this is how the country should be ran and so forth. So, just curious how you see it now, based off of what I just said. As far as, do you believe that politics is very egocentric? And
Oh,
I say that
hell
because,
yeah.
again, the natural, what I call the 3D world, is the ego. And in order to get out of that, you have to let go of some of that stuff. So I want to hear your perspective, and I won't add to that.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna answer that, but then I'm gonna throw a little bit of what happened to me the other day, of my own personal experience about egocentric. But yeah, I agree 100%. Politicians are very egocentric because you just hit the nail on the head. They had the perception of this is the way the country should be ran. I feel like this is what we need to do as people, and you expect everybody to fall in line. Now, of course, you can say that's just people agreeing or thinking the same way. True. But to have that mindset to say, well, this is the way it should be ran, and not take other opinions and then put it all together and brainstorm, like, you know what, I like what he said, I like what she said. This is my point of view. We can all come together and make a decision. Now that's the way it's supposed to be, but we know that it's not. So for me, yes, politicians only have that one way of thinking. This is my policy. This is my belief. This is the way the country should be ran. And yeah, so they the worst, and they would never try to deny it. Some will, but most of them very arrogant about it, and they move in that way. So yeah, on that aspect, I totally believe that. Now, the other one I was gonna get on is about, like I said, about me. So I was told by a good person, very close person, that you need to get out of your ego. How do they put it? You guys stop, get out of your ego way of thinking. I forget word for word, but basically what they was telling me was I'm very ego. I live in my ego because I got into it, and I kind of went off, and I said some things, and then they was like, "You never want to apologize. You always think you're right." I said, "No, I don't think I'm right. I just say what I believe and what I think, the way I feel. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you that's how I feel about it." And they was like, "See what I mean? You just never want to admit when you're wrong." And then they threw the narcissism out there. Oh, you know that's the sign of narcissism. I said, "No, it's not." I said, "To me," she said, "See, you don't want to accept it." I said, "It's not that I don't want to accept it. I said, that's a word that we all want to latch onto and try to identify everybody like that, where in the case it's not." But to get back on track with the ego thing, they was telling me that I don't never admit when I'm wrong. I always want to feel like the other person is wrong and I'm always right. And it's funny, as the person was telling me that, I kept giving them pushback, like, no, I'm not. You just don't want to accept what I told you. So I had to reflect and sit there and be like, you know what? Maybe I am like that a little bit because I do get pushback, and I always had that mentality. Well, you wrong because what I said, this is the way it should be. So I think it takes a lot of you to put your ego aside and realize
Mhm.
that maybe sometimes we do tend to think that everything should be my way and not the other person's way. So where I'm going with this is, I think it's a self-reflection. We all got to really be honest with ourselves and not take it as the other person just mad. They just saying that to hate on me. No, sometimes it could be true, and
Mhm.
that's where I'm coming to for myself. Is now that I sit back and I look at situations I always handle. I'm like, yeah, I can have a little ego. I'm a little prideful and always going to be right and never wrong. So that's where I come to the point where, yeah, we all need to just sit back and kind of reflect. But like I said, I don't think most people think about that because it's never brought up. But
Mhm.
now we had this show, and then I was told that the other day, now it's all coming to the forefront. I'm like, damn, you know what? Now thinking about it, yeah, maybe I do have a little egocentric in me because I do tend to have that mentality where I don't
Mhm.
apologize or you was wrong, you just don't want to admit it. So it's like that back and forth. So
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, that's something that we all got to really be honest with ourselves about.
That's good self-acceptance because I'm looking at that definition and that's 100% egocentric because that's limited empathy. When you're basically saying it's hard to understand, understand, or appreciate somebody else's perspective, like they're telling you their perspective. Look, this is what I think that you are, and you were shooting them down. So that was like a perfect example of one of the traits. Now, do some people? I think we all possess one of the traits, if not all three. And that's the thing, just like what I said earlier, is my famous terminology I say is 3D, which is saying things ego. And so many of us are stuck in that. And some of us have no form of spirituality. And we're so, as I say, 3D or egocentric that that's where it's becomes overbearing. And that's where people, I think the term narcissism to me is more demeaning. It has a negative connotation behind it. Because when most people say narcissist, they say it in a sense of like they're trying to put you down and call you a bad person. So I think that word carries like a negative vibration to it. Whereas egocentric, it's not as negative. It's kind of like a neutral to me. It's like kind of neutral. It's just letting you know, okay, you're in yourself. And I think it's more palatable than someone saying you're a narcissist, and especially the way it's said. But not to get off topic. So, like I said, I believe a lot of us possess, if not one or all three of these traits. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is one, so people can recognize it. And two, like you said, do some self reflection and ask yourself, am I unbalanced? Yes, we are human. We live in this human experience, and part of that is being in our ego because that's what we was born with. But again, one of our purposes is to ascend to our higher self, and we have to slowly but surely, come out of that. And like it was stating earlier, most children, they're all about themselves. Everything is me, and they're not thinking about the next person like the dude you was talking about at work. And unfortunately, there are so many adults that are still children in the mind and they haven't grown up, and progressed into, their higher self and actually full grown adult. Because as an adult, we shouldn't be selfish. We shouldn't be so egocentric that it's hard to be around that person. So I just want to go back to something you said earlier. And it's funny because when I was in school, when I was in ALC or SLC, senior leadership course for E6, was it E6 or E7? But anyway, that's when I first learned about the term narcissism. And that's what the topic was. Do you feel as though that narcissism is needed, or can you be narcissist in order to be successful? And I basically said the same thing you said. I think in order to be successful in certain occupations, you have to have a form of narcissism. And I said, especially as NCOs in the military, you have to be, have some form of narcissism because if not, you're always going to get passed over because you was taught, especially as an NCO, it's all about the soldier. They come before you. And if you have that mindset, like you was telling a young lady, at some point you got to stand up for yourself and say, look, I got to put myself, in the forefront as well. And so for that, for being in the military as an NCO, trying to make rank, it's challenging because you're trying to make rank. You want to take care of yourself and take care of your family. But at the same time, you have soldiers under you, and it's supposed to be about the soldier and it's supposed to be about the military and the country. So you're always putting that before you and you get left behind. So I was like, so how do you actually succeed if you're always putting everybody else in front of you? You never had time for yourself. You don't have time to improve yourself because you're putting everybody else in front of you. So you have to have some form of narcissism in order to be successful. So in that aspect, I do believe you have to, but it shouldn't be so unbalanced to where it's like I was saying before, it's just so overbearing that you're like, I can't be around this person. Now, I kind of push back on it just because where I'm at now and what my whole goal is to reach my higher self. Now I'm gonna ask you this question. I know you said we should have it. So what occupation and what aspect do you really believe that is needed? I already gave the one with the military, but just if you can just give an example of one good reason why, because I think we shouldn't have or be egocentric.
Well, I mean, it's going to be the same one, like I said, with boxing. If it's an individual sport, I think it's different from a team sport. Obviously, it can't be like that being a team. But I mean, even with boxing, you somewhat a team because your crew that's helping you, coaching you is still part of your team. So you, at the end of the day, you always want to have a team. But I mean, it's individually sport, meaning you the one that has to be the one to finish to get to your ultimate goal. The only reason why I say that is because if you go in with any doubt or confidence, then I feel like you're not going to be at your best capable or ability because you're not allowing yourself to know that you are the best. So you can say that is that really egocentric? I say it is because it kind of falls in line with what the definitions is, where you think it's all about you. Now you don't have to belittle people, but that's just why I'm just sticking firmly on you to accomplish where you get. Now you can humble yourself. I'm not saying you can't just be an ass across the board. You have a little bit of compassion for the other opponent, but I mean, just to really get to the top, I think you got to have a little bit of it. I'm not saying 100 just pure egocentric, where, like you said, nobody want to deal with you. But I mean, you have seen in the past that some athletes been like that. They still succeeded. Now, did they have a lot of people liking them? No. But I'm gonna tell you one thing. It's going to correlate to what I'm saying. At work, my boss has said something one day, and this guy, he's ex-military, so he just very stern, very direct, very organized, and a lot of people don't like him because he has that mentality. He just don't play. And I told him, I said, man, I love you. I said, I don't like you, but I love you. He laughed. He said, well, would you rather have somebody to work with that you like or somebody you don't like, but you like working for?
Respect.
I'm going to say that again. Would you rather have somebody that you like or somebody you don't like, but you do like working for? So the reason why I'm saying, what does it have to do with the ego thing? Some people may have that ego where you don't like them, but you like them for what they're trying to accomplish because you understand what they're trying to get to. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say boxing when I say you got to possess it just a little bit. And that's probably going to be the only sport, maybe, dare I say it, because I know we just spoke about this, but I would say if you're trying to run for something, to become president or CEO or something, I think you got to have that killer instinct, that killer mindset where I'm going to get this position. You know, it sounds kind of crazy because like, wow, you really going to go and do whatever you can to get that? That seems like, yeah, you are just egocentric. But yeah, in a sense, sometimes that's what you got to do. Now, can you play fair and win? Yeah, of course. At the end of the day, it should be balanced. But naturally, how often do that happen? Now, we should all possess the work the right way, doing stuff the right way, and just let the chips fall they may, and whoever win because they deserve it. Now, I'm gonna go back to the competing. One of my clients asked me, why did I stop competing? I said, because nowadays it's all about, it's not who has the best physique, who has the best supplement. And all the supplements get these cats big and ripped and best
Mm-hmm.
body shape. And here I am going natural, eating right, doing everything I'm supposed to, and I'm still gonna lose because the other person did it the shortcut way. So that dude was in his ego because he had to get there. Now my ego is I'm doing it the right way. I'm eating
Mm-hmm.
right and staying clean. So that's what I'm saying. You still gonna be in your ego a little bit because you have to get where you want to get. Now I'm doing it the right way. I'm doing natural, but the other guy's doing the supplement way. So at the end of the day, you could say, are both of y'all wrong or both of y'all doing what y'all gotta do to get there, but people still gonna view you as being egocentric because of the way you're handling it to get there. So what I'm trying to say at the end of the day, that's why I believe you might have to possess it because whatever we do, I feel like it's still gonna be some egocentric towards it because again, you could have empathy, but if you really want to get to where you're going, you gotta have that little bit of that egocentric. Now again, don't be over the top, don't be where you an asshole, but just possess enough to where you have balance. And that's just my firm belief on that.
All right, so just pause for a minute. I have to run to the bathroom. I'm sorry, I've been drinking all morning.
All right. Yeah, so just on that note, guys, like I was saying, so it's very dynamic for me for the egocentric is because again, depends on what you're trying to do. Now I'm waiting for Matt to come back because I wanted to make this point. But even too many E's, egocentric people that do right and do for a lot of people could be egocentric because they might have a mindset, well, I do for everybody. I do this and they feel good because they know they're helping other people. Nobody else gonna do what I do for you. So that's being egocentric because you know what you can do and how you help people. So you feel like you're not better, but you can do more than the next person because you have that ability. So by definition, that's the way of being egocentric too. So that's why I keep hanging my hat on. I'm a firm believer that everybody possesses that. So man, I was saying this. I don't know if you heard me while you handle your business, but I'm gonna use this real quick, and then I'm gonna let you go back. To kind of go backwards, what I was saying about everybody being egocentric. And this is where I'm gonna say even a person that do good by somebody or do good for everybody, just a giver, could be egocentric. Because let's say it's you and I,
Mhm.
and you just a giver. You do good by everybody. You do this, you do that. I'm the same way, but I'm not on that level. And you can say, well, see how good I am. I help everybody out. Nobody can do what I do because I care about everybody. So I do what Mark can't do. So I care more. So I feel like even then, you can be an egocentric person, even when you are a person that has empathy and give, because you might be so big headed thinking that see nobody else can do what I do because I care for everybody. So I don't. They may not personally say it verbally, but they can also act with their way of carrying themselves and have that attitude. Like, see, I'm the only one that helped. I'm the only one that helped Candy out. Mark didn't do nothing. So that's why I feel like it's always going to be someone, no matter if you're a good person that's given to everybody, you might still possess that as well.
Okay, that's a good point. So you answer the question, but you kind of didn't answer the question. So that example is good. That's more like ego.
Right.
So as far as with boxing, that's somebody that's operating in the ego, which is needed. Like just you
Right.
have to, like you see, you got to believe in yourself, and you got to believe that you're better than your other opponent. Like
Right.
that's good. We all need that. That I do agree with when it comes to ego. We have to have that. But as far as like with egocentric, that's more so geared towards like you was talking about the guy at your job, how he don't care about nobody else. He just do
Okay.
stuff on his own.
Yeah.
So that's more so what I'm referring to. Someone is very egocentric because it's all about them. Um, but the boxing example, like I said, that's needed. That's overstandable because that person has to win, and not if you get your ass knocked out. But I'm talking about more so like dealing with everyday life people, like perfect example with the politics and politicians. Um, so that's the question that I'm asking more so. Why do you believe that it's needed? Not necessarily sport, but just like in everyday life, just dealing with the average person, and you run across somebody that's very egocentric. And like I said, I was very egocentric to a point. When I was in religion, I was very egocentric. You know how I used to always, preach and stuff and tell people
Yeah.
they're wrong and no, this is how you're supposed to believe. And,
Oh yeah.
and that's yeah, that's more so what I'm referring to now, as
Right.
far as just dealing with somebody on the average, not sports or anything like that, but just dealing with somebody you come in passing, and whether if it's family members or not, and they're very egocentric, they have no empathy for
Right.
anybody else, what they're going through, what their perspective is, the narrow perspective. And I was like this. And when I read this, it made me stop and think about currently like where I'm at right now. assuming that one's way of thinking or perspective or perceiving the world is universal or more important or the most important. As much as I stress, everything is energy. We got to reach our higher self. And to an extent, I do expect everybody to have that same mindset. And in a sense, that's very egocentric, or as a trait of it, is because now I'm basically saying my belief trumps yours. And
Right.
I don't care what you believe. What I believe is the 100% truth. And that's what you should be following behind. So that's what I'm more so asking as far as, do you believe or you have an example of how someone being egocentric is necessary or should be accepted?
Okay. So I'm still gonna hang my hat on this. You like, dude, you ain't listening. I am. I still believe that even now, I'm gonna make sure I say this where it makes sense, where it's not too confusing. I do believe you gotta possess it at some point. I feel like you gotta have both. Now, the reason why I say that, for example, let's say I had this guy that's cool as shit. He helping me out. He helps me take me to work. He picks me up because let's say my car broke down, and he's helping me out. Real cool. Never really tells me you need to do this for me. You need to do that. But his ego is, damn, dude. If you ain't had me, how would you get to work? Like, you lucky I'm here for you because nobody else is going to help you. Now that's the way of saying it in a negative way, saying that somebody egotistically is doing good by you, but they still being wrong because they had that ego that if it wasn't for me, your butt would be stuck out for work. Now, this flip side, same situation, but flip it. And hey, man, I need you to pick me up. I need to go to the store. I don't got my car yet. I just need you to help me out. All right, man, I got you. Yo, man, I need to go do this. My point is, I keep using him to my advantage because I know he's there to help me, and I keep using it and using it and using it. And he never said nothing because he's a good guy. He's trying to be there for me. Now, some people say, well, that's just somebody that's good. He's just not going to change his ways. True, but he needs to live in that ego a little bit to say, "Hey, man, look, I understand, Mark. Dude, you don't have your ride, but you're using me too much. Where you're getting me at inconvenience. I need to appreciate you to appreciate me, and stop taking advantage of me. Because if it wasn't for me, who else would be helping you? Now that to me is living in his ego, but it's not like rubbing it in my face in a way. It's just him saying, "Look, you're starting to take advantage of me. I'm helping you when no one else will. So be appreciative of that and understand that I'm helping you. You're not helping me." So that's kind of, if that makes any sense to y'all, the difference on being egocentric in a bad way and being egocentric kind of in a good way, where he's saying, look, I'm helping you. And luckily for me, because if not, you wouldn't be able to do the things you are doing. So that's why I'm saying that we do need to possess it, because there's times when we don't, and you could be the best person doing right, and that other person might see the good, but they use it to their advantage. But because you're not living in a little ego, you're allowing someone to take full advantage of you, which is wrong. But because you being a better person, you're just gonna have somebody keep running over you, and then you can have somebody else do it, and somebody else do it. At some point, you gotta live in that ego, not in a negative way, but just to say, hey, look, I'm helping you out. If it wasn't for me right now, where would you be? So stop
Yeah.
doing that and just understand that, I'm doing a lot for you. To me, that's being egocentric, but not over the top. You're not, again, rubbing in the person's face. You're not throwing in your face, like I said, for the other way,
Mhm.
where you are egocentric and it's like, it's all about me. I'm the only one there for you. Nobody else cares about you. I'm your best friend. You don't have friends. That's to me where the two difference, where I say you can have a little pinch of it, and when no. At the end of the day, to answer your question, we shouldn't have it because there's, again, no empathy. But I just feel like balance comes in where sometimes we might need it, because some people out there do take advantage of that, and because you're a good person, you just allow it, or you just naive and you don't even see it and realize
You know what? That's funny because that sounds like one of the laws of power. So I just
it.
bought this book from Amazon,
Oh shit, yeah.
the 48 laws of power, and that's one of them. Get others to do work for you always take the credit. Yeah, it's a very interesting book. But
Yeah, it sounds like it.
so now I'm going to use an example. Christine, if you still out there, I want you to chime in and let me know if you agree with this or not. So I believe, I believe, from my observation, I think doctors are very egocentric. And I say
Mhm.
this because I don't know if you had this experience. There's always one doctor or a set of group of doctors that have a mindset of what they're doing is right. Nobody else is right. And they look down on whatever another doctor is saying or someone else that believes something like naturopaths, you
Mhm.
know. And to me, that's a perfect example of, a profession or
Right.
individual being egocentric. And to me, it's in a negative way because there are other ways of helping people and, helping and healing people or, whatever the case is. But if you're so against it because you're so 100% in belief that what you're doing is correct,
Mhm.
to me, you can actually hurt people because you're telling, nope, don't listen to that. That's not right.
Mhm.
That's a bunch of quacks out there. This science is
Mhm.
100% proven. This is what you need to do.
Right.
So, in my opinion, that's when it's negative because now they're telling the person, don't listen to anything else, don't go anywhere else. What I'm telling you is 100% the truth.
Mhm.
That's what you need to focus and listen to. So I think there's a lot of professions out there that
Yeah.
functions under egocentrism, and to me, it hurts society. It hurts people,
Mhm.
and again, because it's all focused around the whole concept of the 3D. And like I always say, the whole purpose of these corporations and elite is to keep us in our low vibration, to keep us in 3D,
Mhm.
because that's what they're making money off of. If you think
Yeah.
about it, like I was saying before, money is made off of negativity. And what's one way of keeping people negative and keeping people in a certain vibration and frequency is to keep them in their ego. And I say this sometimes when I'm talking to somebody, not that I'm being unempathetic. I'm just saying, look, when I say something to you, most people don't like the truth because what's offended? Their ego. It could
Yeah.
be 100% truth, but because their
Mhm.
ego is offended, they
Right.
automatically push back. Then it's a fight to break out, or it's verbal abuse and stuff. And that's
Mhm.
why I believe 100% that we need to balance, yes, but we definitely need to move away from always being an ego.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. You know, it's funny you saying that, and I'm sitting here thinking one of the biggest companies or corporations that lives in their ego is the NFL.
Oh,
You know, and the reason why I say that, and they doing it more of a business, but I was watching a game and a friend of mine was telling me, so why are they in South America? Why Brazil? I said, because that's a business decision. Like he
yeah,
knows that they making money, and they were saying on the game that they have 38 million in revenue in fan base in Brazil, and they not even played there. So they
yeah,
thinking we're gonna take our football, even though y'all believe in soccer, we gonna make y'all watch our sport because we want to make y'all we want to make money. So to me, that's it living in egocentric. They try to force it on the world. They got it in Europe now. They talking about going to
yeah.
Australia next year. So to me, they one of the biggest corporations or businesses that lives in their ego. They feel like the whole world needs to like football because this is an
Yeah.
American sport, but y'all need to like it because we love it. You
Hmm.
know, so I feel like on the business aspect, they are one of the biggest egocentric companies, corporations out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. So that
But
goes back to my original question.
yeah.
Um, do you think that we should operate in this?
No, because you said it right at the end where you said we living in 3D. So it's all material and we in our ego. So it's not bettering us. At the end of the day, to
Mhm.
me, it's making it worse because as we go forward, everything is about that. It's about who can make more, who can do better, who can we use to get what we're trying to get. So no. It's not. We need to get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be pessimistic, but where is it going to start? My friend always asks me, "Why you so don't like nobody?" I said, "It's not that I don't like nobody. It's just hard when everybody I see is out here doing each other wrong, just so
Mm-hmm.
they can benefit better themselves." That's a perfect example of living in egocentric. Not saying
Yeah.
everybody, I should say everybody, but most people.
Yeah.
A good amount of people is out here trying to take advantage so they can better to get where they trying to get, not even thinking about the person they trying to take advantage of. And it's all
Mm-hmm.
about them and what they want to do. So yeah, answer your question. No, we don't. We need to get out of that. But I hope mom used to always say this. I hope it happened while I'm here. If not, damn, but while I'm still here, it'll be nice to see it. Is it
Yeah.
possible? Yes. But
All right.
it's
So
kind of bleak.
now
Yeah.
I'm going to read something. This blew my mind. And like I was saying, this had me looking at myself as far as like where I'm at. Now, this is the other aspect of it. So you have spiritual ego is different from personality ego that comes with the body. So spiritual ego is what one has when they think they are enlightened and they tell people they are. If they tell you they are enlightened, they are not. Now, I've always said this. When it's somebody that's always telling you, look, I'm this, I'm that, I stay away from them. To me, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
They think they have all the answers. They often speak in platitudes that are not helpful, like time doesn't exist. I've said that. True, but unhelpful and confusing. We are all one. I've said that. True, but just part of the story. We are all on one level. I've said that. On one level, interconnected in another individual. Some black and white, not thinking. Someone who actually is enlightened will not have to need to tell anyone because they will not feed their ego or have a spiritual ego. And that's what I was saying the other day. And I was like, a lot of these people out here that's on here that's talking about how enlightened they are and always trying to, that's a form of spiritual ego or egotism, egocentrism. It's because they trying to tell everybody how you currently believe in and what you believe is not right. And this is the right way. Regardless if it has some truth to it. Now, if you just say it and put it out there and just let it go, then it's nothing wrong with that. But if you're constantly always, preaching and this is what you need to do, then you're no different from the people that's in religion and they're saying you need to be baptized or you need to, be a Christian. There's no difference. You're just giving somebody something different. So that blew my mind when I read that. And I'm like, wow. So we can't escape it, even though we may claim to be very spiritual and enlightened and stuff like that. We still can't escape that ego because it's a part of us. We're living this human experience. That's what we are. So, and when I read that, I was like, man, that's deep. So what I took from that is to just be and just live it. And like I said, I can mention it maybe once or twice, but be more the example opposed to always constantly telling people this is what you need to be doing. And it's one example, and I want to get your perspective on it and we can close out. But this may sound like I'm bragging or whatever, but I'm just being honest. I had my massage therapy business. I never advertised. And it's been closed for 2 years. And I promise you, I still get 2 to 3 calls. It used to be a day. I still get 2 to 3 calls a week or maybe more. Hey, are you open? I would like to have a massage. I'm sorry, I'm closed. The point I'm trying to make is I didn't advertise. I didn't put myself out there. It's just from word of mouth, the reviews and stuff that I got. People see that and they're like, okay, I want to go there. So my whole point is we don't have to always be in ourself and try to, get people to recognize us. The energy is going to attract the right people. So if anybody's always constantly trying to pump themselves up, look at me, that's a red flag in my opinion. And I always try to push back from that. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious what your perspective is on that.
Well, yeah, I'll piggyback off of that. I'll say the same thing, maybe a little differently, but definitely the same perception or concept. Is yeah, you if you put out there good energy, good positive vibes, and you showing that what you are, what you putting out there. Let's say, for example, because we talk about your business, if you do good product or give a good business, like you said, word of mouth is going to be your advertising. That's going to be your networking because other people are speaking for you. So you don't have to be in yourself and be like, see, I'm one of the best massage therapists out there because what I do, no one else can do. Yeah, you're so into yourself. You're trying to prove something where your work is going to do all the proof. Like the old saying, proof is in the pudding, whatever that means. But to me, yes, that's a perfect example that how you can exude your your ego without being egocentric is let your whatever you're doing speak for you. You know, just like in a relationship, you look at it on any level. If you got a great person, if you a great boyfriend or husband, you ain't got to go out and announce it to the world. I do this for my wife and this, and that.
Mm-hmm.
And ain't nobody better than me because I'm the best at this. Let her do that for you. And that'll show that
Mm-hmm.
man, that's a good man. He good by her. He do right by her. He don't have to say it or try to be ego eccentric about it. At work, if you're the best worker, you don't have to go around. Ain't nobody better than me. I show up to work every day. I finish my job before everybody. That's somebody living in their ego. They not letting their work speak for them. Where the other people like, damn, Matt's always on time. Mark always on time. He never calls in. He does his job. He does what he's supposed to do. You don't have to live in it. So at the end of the day, what I'm saying is the same thing. I agree with you. Is if we do what we're supposed to and do it, that'll be your ego for speaking for you. You don't have to go over the top and make it all about you. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's where we at right now. Myself included. I'm working on it because I've been told and have been expressed. So now I'm sitting back looking and I'm realizing some things. So yeah, we all possess it. Just gotta be honest with yourself. And you know what you're trying to do to change yourself going forward. You know, so I feel like that's important. Do you want to change, or you feel like you don't need to change? Sometimes that's the hardest part is accepting that, yeah, I need to change and get out of my ego. I've been told that many times, get out of your ego. Your ego's in your way. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Okay. All right. So good stuff. Good stuff. So we're gonna close on that note. Beautiful people. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. I think it was a great topic. We can talk for hours about it. I know I can. So basically, like Mark was saying, balance is key. Um, and I'm not, like I said before, I'm not doing my best to not to try to force my beliefs on people. It's more so just to come out, bring a different perspective, get people to talk, get people to open their minds, and add it to their toolbox. And if it helps, it helps. If it doesn't, then as they say, keep it pushing. But as always, beautiful people, your thoughts create your belief, and your belief creates your reality. Until next week, y'all enjoy, be safe. We out.
We out.